Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. How you doing? I'm so happy to be here, you all. I'm so happy. I won my court case yesterday. For those of you who don't know, I did have a cyber stalker, and it wasn't just your average cyber stalker. This was a person who made upwards of 9 different accounts that I had to continuously block on all of my pages. And then he's messaging my family, my friends, and all this. It was terrible. It was awful. I don't recommend anybody go through it. So I had to get the law on my side, even as a punk rock rebel girl. And I presented the evidence, showed up, and just bam, and won the case. It was awesome with flying colors. And I'm just super relieved and happy today. I was spinning for a little while, even with my tools, and I had to have my friends remind me to be, sweet and compassionate to myself, because sometimes I have a tendency to, not be the most compassionate person in the world, because I always like to move forward. And that is part of my journey, is being still and present. And that's why I have a yoga company. That's why I have this Ganesh over here, right? I have all these reminders around me, tattooed all over me, of different reminders to stay present, stay grounded, follow the teachings if you get lost, and in your nervous system. Because again, I've had a lot of trauma. I sit before you as a person who speaks of a lot of different spiritual matters. I've studied a lot of different spiritual books. My main text is the Yoga Sutras. I say that very often. Actually, I'm talking about that today. But I have built into my nervous system, kind of stuck along it. Even with doing inner work, I still have a lot of trauma. And, being around someone that's abusive and just attacking you, it's anything that you have in there is going to shake it up, right? So it was challenging, but one silver lining is that it got me to start meditating twice a day, which is great, because I just literally, my nervous system was nope, you can't busy yourself anymore. You're going to sit with this. And I was like, well, shit, if I'm going to sit with this, I'm going to sit with it. You know what I'm saying? So I increased my dhyan, and my mind has started to really more deeply process everything that I've been through in the past month and a half. I remember when I was taking my yoga program in India, I was feeling good, but I remember sitting with myself, and there was about a week and a half left of the course. And I thought to myself, why do I feel so restless? How come I just feel kind of stuck? And I was just kind of I was I've been doing so much yoga. I've been doing studying philosophy and being a student, and then being in India. Oh my God, it's a dream come true for me. And then it occurred to me, oh my God, I've lost my regular meditation practice, because I was doing yoga related stuff for 10 hours a day. So I guess I thought, well, this is moving meditation. Asana practice prepares you to sit on your ass and to be still. And so for me, I'm very pitta in nature. I'm very flux. That's just the kind of person I am. I'm also a Pisces. And so my emotions are all the time. And that makes me a very powerful person. When I say I'm going to do something, when my heart is in it and I have a group of collected people, I do the damn thing. But a lot of times, if you're not managing these big vibrations through you, then they can definitely overwhelm you. So for somebody like me, it's very, very important to meditate. So increase my meditation back up to 35 minutes. And on the other end, my evening meditation, it's at 15 minutes right now. I'll stay there for a few more days, bumping it up to 20. I like to try to do it compassionately, because I don't know about you, but for me, if I'm just I'm going to do 2 hours a day, that's it, and no excuses and non-negotiable, it's not going to happen. It'll happen for maybe 2 days. But if I build it up, okay, non-negotiable, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, let's say if I didn't have a meditation practice, that is a good way to start. Or 5 minutes in the morning, build that up. Okay, build it up to 10, 15, maybe then start adding the evening one, right? So you give yourself a chance to regulate, because your nervous system will respond and go towards what is familiar, even if it's uncomfortable. Isn't that interesting? So if we have a pattern that's well established, it has momentum, right? It has momentum. It's already going. already going. There's power and momentum. So if you make a sudden like change, it's like your body's like, but wait, no, there's more. We're going to be here. That we know this. And so you have to take some space. You have to increase things gradually, because when you do it that way, it's not quite a shock. Now, when people take an intensive or a training, it does like, it's a big shift to your nervous system. And that's why I have the aftercare in my programs, right? So we do you right, boo. So with my program, for example, coming up September 16th to the 23rd, I'm certifying life coaches. If this is something you want to do as a career or for personal development, I have people come about 50-50 for both. I will help you as much as I can. You'd be hard pressed to find another teacher that cares as much as I do, that is as authentic and forthcoming about how they use the tools in their personal life. It's not theory. It's not a template for me. This is the real deal, y'all. This is what I do with my life. This is how I live. I'm constantly studying myself. I'm teaching. I'm lecturing. I'm using these tools in my relationships and in my business and my career. And I'm doing it as ethically as I possibly can. So anyways, long story long, I'm super happy to be here. My nervous system calming down from everything that's happened. And I'm happy to talk about some Yoga Sutras with you today. So the Yoga Sutra that I want to talk about and break down is from the book Sadhana-pada. So there's 4 padas in the Yoga Sutras book, 196 sutras, little shlokas, if you will, little gems of information, tiny little concise, very compressed. Think of them as gems or diamonds. And each one you can take and you can savor and you can look at it from different angles. You see it sparkle in the light. Sometimes it looks a little dull. That is the relationship I like to have with the Yoga Sutras. It's so beautiful, and just looking at things from a different angle, these universal wisdoms that were compiled by Patanjali, is such a beautiful exploration of self and touching the divinity in the universe, like all the sparkles, and then drawing it back inward. So that is how I like to teach the Yoga Sutras. It's very feminine, kind of like, way to do it. But I also have some knowledge of Sanskrit and to back it up. So it's Yoga Sutra 2.33, and it's vitarka-bādhane, pratipakṣa-bhāvanam. So this sutra is talking about taking the opposite course of action if the mind has doubt or frustration, and applying a sort of sweetness or opposite to it so that you can get the different result. This sounds familiar, like filling out a clear formula, right? So we know that C is circumstance, L is look at your thoughts, E is emotions, A is action, R is results. And so if we find that somewhere in the clear formula, say, oh, when I think this way, when I think everybody hates me, and then I feel hated, I feel rejected, the action, I want to hide, results, I hide, and my life passes me by. What do we have to do to change that thought? Well, we have to find somewhere in that line where we can sort of penetrate or puncture, get in there, change the thought. How do you want to feel? Shift the emotion, and then separate the facts from the thoughts. So this one has to deal with thoughts. Now, if we apply this to the outside world, like I gave a lecture in my yoga class today about pratipakṣa-bhāvanam. So this Yoga Sutra, I actually learned half of it from Nishala Joy Devi. And she wrote about it in her book, and then we talked about it. And pratipakṣa-bhāvanam, she had a story where she was working at a monastery. She's a yogic nun. By the way, I'm going to her retreat in October. If you look, I'm trying to remember her website. If you Google Nishala Joy Devi, you'll be able to find her retreat. It is for dedicated students. So if you're studying Yoga Sutras like I am, you can reach out to her and see if you can get accepted. It is in October. It's out in Arizona. But anyways, she was working in a monastery with a monk, and she's a yogic nun. And so they're walking, and I think she had to take some orders from him, and he's like, I don't like you. And he was just like kind of nasty to her. And she was just kind of like indifferent, like she was applying Yoga Sutra 1.33. which is Maitri Karuna Murito Pakshanam Sukha Dukha Punya Vishayam Bhavanatas Chitta Prasadanam, which is where, when people are kind of like an asshole to you, you're kind of like indifferent, or you're like, okay, kind of like how I had to be with the stalker guy. Like, okay, you keep your crazy to yourself. Anyways, she did the practice of pratipakṣa-bhāvanam, and she imagined just taking a garland of like the marigold flowers and putting it over his neck, like I am with this video. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, you'll see that I do some ASMR type stuff because I think it's fun in my videos. She put the marigold flowers on his neck over and over again in her dreams, in her meditations. And after about a week of doing that, he turned to her and he said something like, you know what? You don't bother me as much as you used to, which is like the most backhanded compliment ever. And her just being so beautiful and humble, she said something to the like of, well, maybe something shifted in both of us that we, don't mind each other so much anymore. So, when I was in class today, my studio, my community knows about what was happening with me with this cyberstalker fella. And I, I said the example of using pratipakṣa-bhāvanam and imagine putting garlands of flowers around this guy's neck, just like, thank you for being my teacher. Thank you for, putting me through hell because there's so many good things that came out of this, right? Again, would not want to sign up for it again, but you try to always find the silver lining. And by you sending out good energy to other people, you get to feel the results within your body, right? And so this, by doing that, I instantly felt better. And I started feeling so grateful for all the people in my life. And I started putting garlands of flowers around their neck. You don't have to do garlands of flowers, but it is such a beautiful gesture. Like in India, they touch the guru's feet and kind of bow down. It's a beautiful gesture. I did that to one of my gurus. It's just sort of like, I respect you. I love you. Like I bow down. It's not like the person themselves. It's like the energy that they're channeling, right? It's so easy to get caught up in the mind and have judgments, and especially when someone around you is going through something, they're angry, they're rude, they're attacking you literally. It's very easy to get caught up in attacking back because it's a survival instinct. It is stimulating your limbic system and your body's like, whoa, we're under attack. Like, so having a practice where you can create space in your mind, whether it be yoga or breath work, or even just like, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to take a deep breath. Just breathing is so easy. And I'm going to like maybe ask myself, why is this bothering me so much? Why is this person, said this thing, or maybe they had, I call it a sourpuss Sally face, or like I ate a lemon, I smelled a fart face, like, and they, they're looking at me in that way. Why does that bother me so much? And then let's take it into life coaching tools. So we can certainly use these yogic techniques of feeling better and like, again, putting the garland of flowers around the person. Sometimes communication can also fit the bill. I will give an example. So I had a student that would show up to class and they would kind of like huff, and I was like, I found that their energy was sort of starting to affect me because I started having some thoughts about it. And I'm wondering, like, what is going on with this person? It sounds like they don't want to be here. Why do they keep showing up? And during class, they'd just be frowning at me, and it looked like they were kind of angry. And, the bigger part of my mind is thinking they have something they're going through. They're here to heal. But then I thought, well, I would like to connect with this person. And so I worded it in that way because as a teacher, I like to be very personal with my students. I like to see where their heart is at because that does a couple of things for me. One, I know where their heart is at, so I know where to meet them. For example, if they're processing grief, there's certain ways that I'm going to teach them that's going to be a little bit different than if they're in a more neutral space. If they need to process grief, then maybe we do some heart openers. Maybe I talk about some things about like letting go, love, death, and dying. There's just different ways that I can serve. It's like when you're meeting up with a friend, you're like, hey, inner universe check, which by the way, I should totally make a phrase. Inner universe check. I do use it with my friends. How you doing? What's going on the inside? How can I help? How can I be there? Do you want me to listen? So if I had no idea that somebody was going through something and then I'm just, kind of reading the room, so to speak, they're frowning, they're, oh, wow, like, do they want to be here? Like, maybe I'm like missed a cue here and like, maybe I should just go home and they want to be by themselves, or, maybe I need to give them a hug. So I think it's really important to be tuned into your environment. Now, certainly I read something somewhere that said people with extreme empathy, that it's a trauma response and their nervous system is very heightened. And so they pick up on the tiniest little things and make it about them. This is something I read. It's not something I agree with, FYI, because I'm a very empathic person. I think that there could be some truth to that. But I find that we can take responsibility for our nervous system as much as we possibly can, with the compassion and understanding that everybody's had trauma with a capital T and with a lowercase t. So rather than get caught up in somebody else's energy, do what you need to do to fulfill your needs. If you're getting too caught up in somebody else's stuff, it's because you've spent too much time there, maybe, and you're starting to have thoughts and make assumptions, and that is causing your energy to be pulled down. So I wouldn't say it's one or the other. I would say it could be a mix of the two, because being around, for example, if you walk into a temple, if you walk into my studio, for example, my studio has been called a temple before. It's a beautiful place where people heal. It's a wonderful yoga studio. People walk in, and a lot of times they start crying. They start crying, and, I'm there and I'm smiling, and they say, I feel safe. I feel safe here. I feel safe. I feel love. I could feel it in the walls because there is so much love at Thrive, at my studio. And when people feel that energy, they feel safe and they let go, right? So there's definitely an energetic component to what's happening within us. I'm not going to deny that. As a yogi, energy is a real thing. We study about it. It is subtle anatomy 100%. But, and we can also have conversations. And so what I did is I went up to this person. I said, hey, I just wanted to say, like, I noticed when you're coming in, I wasn't sure if maybe there's something uncomfortable going on. It looks like, maybe you have something rough going on because I can't tell from your face, because a lot of times it's very stoic or you look like you're frowning. And I just wanted to, I asked a couple of questions, and this person opened up about how they had some stuff going on at home. I won't get into the details because I don't want anyone to be able to figure out who it is, but they had some things going on. And also when we had that conversation, I think that that person saw that I really care about them and I wanted to connect with them. And I'm a person too. Like I'm not this, like, just because I'm a teacher doesn't mean I'm this like statuesque idol of anything. I don't want to be on a pedestal 100%. I am a person. And I have real feelings, and I want to love and connect with people. That's like the best part of what I do. So if I have some sort of block, and maybe it's in my head, right? Like, again, I have my traumas. I have my sensitivities. I'm a human with a beating heart, blood pulsing through my veins. I will communicate. And so I can clean up whatever I need to clean up, and then I can connect. So since that conversation, I noticed a shift in the person. They just, there's something different. I feel like I'm easier able to connect with them, and I know a little bit more of what's going on in their heart. So now, relating to pratipakṣa-bhāvanam, sometimes taking the approach of shifting and just changing your mind is a beautiful practice. And that's one of the things that I teach in my course of 30 plus tools. How to shift your mind when you're hyper-focused on something is causing a certain emotional charge inside of your body, and you're acting from that space. So that is one way, certainly, and is a beautiful technique. And I think that a lot of times, like, 'cause sometimes you can't have a conversation with a person, right? Maybe somebody you see often, but they're just an acquaintance. What if they're like the bagger at the grocery store, is an example I give. Like, you just get the same bagger all the time, and they're just like, right? So or maybe they're rude to you, something like that. But your interactions with them are so brief, and you have to kind of choose your battles. So certainly doing our inner work and seeing, okay, I can imagine putting garland of flowers around this person's neck. And then maybe I can look at, why did that bother me so much? Why did that bother me so much? And see what statement you have inside of your mind. See what emotion you have going on inside of you. And maybe there's like some belief system of being rejected, or like, I don't deserve love, or people are going to make fun of me. There's so many below the surface. And when we're busy in our lives, and, even if we are using these tools, they still get buried. They're more likely to come up so we can look at them, certainly, because when things are still, it's like the bubbles and the sediment sort of like shifts and comes up. But sometimes we need to have a conversation. Sometimes we need to do inner work, and using the word viveka, discernment, to determine when it is appropriate to have these conversations, and when we need to kind of like, this is a them problem, or this is a me problem. And then luckily, any problem that you have, you can plug into the clear formula, which I teach in my coach school. So that's some Yoga Sutras for you today. Wow, this is one of my longer podcasts. I was just on a roll today. I am so grateful for the opportunity to talk to you. I am so grateful when I get to meet you. If you haven't followed our newsletter, you can go to thriveyogafit.com, subscribe. We are sending out more information lately. I have a wonderful team of marketing people that is an amazing woman, and I'm super happy to have her on my team. So I actually have the woman power behind getting my message out there. So if you're interested in some of my programs, they're going to start building again. So now's the time to hop on it. So if you're interested in coach school, you can reach out to me, Erin at erincoach.com. You can check out thriveyogafit.com. You can reach out to me on socials. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. So you'll be able to find us. I hope that you have a wonderful week. If you have any comments or questions about this show, please let me know. And namaste.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast, and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar, and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me, as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you, and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin at erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Thank you so much. Namaste.